welcomes you to the year-end celebration luncheon. Please turn your attention to the stage. Celebrating 50 years of artistic excellence, please welcome the Orlando Ballet. Thank you once again to the Orlando Ballet. Please continue to enjoy your lunch, and we'll be back in 5 minutes to start the program. Please welcome to the stage Visit Orlando President and CEO Cassandra Mate.
Hello and welcome to Visit Orlando's year-end celebration luncheon. Thank you. Well, what about that performance from the Orlando Ballet? Let's give a round of applause. They are Central Florida's largest professional dance company with dancers from 12 different countries. And they are celebrating their 50th season. And tonight is the premiere of The Nutcracker, a multi-million-dollar project completely reimagined with new sets, props, and choreography. You can find out more and buy tickets at orlandoballet.org. It's so great to see so many of our members, volunteer leaders, and public officials here at the Hilton Orlando. What a fantastic setting for a year-end celebration. In August, we tested a new tool to make our luncheons more inclusive. We are again offering closed captioning. Scan the QR code on the screen or in the program to follow along with today's event on your phone. This will now be a standard practice moving forward. It's also a special time of year that we recognize our board of directors for their leadership. We conduct our annual meeting and celebrate accomplishments. We'll share an update on the success of Visit Orlando's magical dining, and our keynote speaker will share his unique take on hospitality. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize our partners that make events like these possible. Hilton Orlando, thank you for hosting us today, and a special thanks to the team providing the service. Cyvish Productions for their creative solutions and audio-visual productions. Thank you to our tourism ambassadors. We are honored to have so many different segments of our community represented. Their elevated membership to Visit Orlando supports our programs and our events. And the many companies that are table sponsors. For this event, we have nearly 40 company tables. Without your support, these types of gatherings would not be possible. And I'm pleased to share that we have more than 1,100 attendees today. This is a new record. And among the attendees, I'd like to take personal privilege because among the attendees, it includes my mother, Gwen, and my husband, Chris, and I thank you so much for all your support. Our presenting sponsor is Orlando Sanford International Airport. There you go. Give them. This airport hosts 3 million passengers annually from more than 70 destinations in the U.S. and Canada. Through Orlando Sanford, visitors have more choices to easily get to and enjoy their stay in Orange County. And with more destinations being added all the time, it's a great benefit for locals as well. I'd like to introduce a video prepared by the Orlando Sanford International Airport.
Easy in and out, everybody's friendly.
Literally got here maybe less than 20 minutes ago, and look at, we're already checked in.
We are going to Universal for the Orlando Informer meetup.
Getting to Disney is like hoot and holler.
The girls are going to cheer down Main Street at Disney, at Walt Disney World.
And it's closer to the coast. I mean, it's like centralized, so.
Close enough that I can call an Uber, fit my family in the car, and off we go to Port Carnival.
We think of SFB first.
I don't even check anywhere else.
Thank you so much for being our presenting sponsor. I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to those elected officials who have joined us here today, including from Orange County, our Mayor, Jerry L. Demings, District 1 Commissioner Nicole Wilson, District 4 Commissioner Maribel Gomez Cordero, District 6 Commissioner Michael Scott, Tax Collector Scott Randolph, and County Administrator Byron Brooks. From City of Orlando, District 1 Commissioner Jim Gray, and District 2 Commissioner Tony Ortiz. From our state legislature, District 15, Senator Geraldine Thompson. District 40 Representative Lavon Gracie Davis. District 41 Representative Bruce Antone. District 43 Representative Johanna Lopez. District 44 Representative Rita Harris. And District 46 Representative Kristen Arrington. And representation from the offices, District 37, Representative Susan Placencia, and District 39, Representative Doug Bankson. In addition, from our federal government, we have representation from the offices of U.S. Senator Rick Scott, U.S. Senator Marco Rubio, Congressman Darren Soto, and Congressman Maxwell Frost. All of the elected officials, please stand up to be recognized. I also want to recognize members of Visit Orlando's agency teams. We are pleased to welcome representatives from Razorfish, Icon International, Ariadne, and All Response Media. They help us create and execute impactful campaigns in our key markets all around the world. Thank you so much for coming in for this event. It is now my pleasure to invite to the stage your Orange County Mayor, Jerry L. Demings.
Thank you, Cassandra. Wow. This mic sounds really good. Let me just say good afternoon to all of you. Thank you, Cassandra, and to the entire team at Visit Orlando for the work that you are doing. It is truly my pleasure to be here and to be part of this auspicious occasion today as we celebrate the end of the year here within our community and the great work that has been done by Visit Orlando. What a wonderful facility. Whenever I come to the Hilton, I'm reminded that here within our community, we have some of the best hotels anywhere in the world. Looking around the room, I see so many partners that have been instrumental in the tourism industry, and I appreciate your ongoing support. As many of you know, the Board of County Commissioners recently allocated $560 million in tourist development tax funding for the Phase 5A expansion at the Orange County Convention Center. We know that decision will translate to investments in our community and our award-winning convention center. The great team that is led by Mark Tester there at the Convention Center, they have done great work during this last year. Even going back to the year before, we had a great year in fiscal year 22-23, which generated total economic impact within our community of $2.8 billion across 159 different events with 1.5 million people who came to visit us at our convention center. Now, let me talk a little bit about several of the notable events that happened there. The Grace Hopper Celebration of Women in Computing, which was touted as the largest gathering of women and non-binary technologists in the world, had 26,000 attendees and generated $66.7 million in economic impact. And the premier global event for the attractions industry, IAAPA, welcomed 41,000 attendees and had an economic impact of $105.2 million. We want those types of events and shows coming back every year, right? As we embark on 2024, we are projected to welcome more than 158 events at our convention center, with 1.6 million attendees projected, with an estimated economic impact of $3.1 billion. Now, let's spend a few minutes talking about our tourist development tax. It's been in the news quite a bit recently. In 2021-2022, Orange County TDT collections exceeded $300 million. This is one of the historical highs for the tourist development tax revenues. Tourist visits remain strong in 2023, and we are expected to see collections reach over $350 million for the first time in the history of the TDT collections. I believe in 2024, we will continue to see this positive growth in TDT collections, driven by our robust tourism industry. Before I conclude my remarks, I want to highlight the work being done to address affordable housing in our community. Of course, there's been a lot of chatter about the tourism industry and the impact on housing affordability within our community. But we're moving the needle, and let me share some good news with you. Just last month, Universal Destinations and Experiences and Wendover Housing Partners marked the beginning of construction for Catchlight Crossings. This, go ahead and applaud. This 1,000-unit affordable housing development will feature numerous on-site amenities and services, retail and recreational areas, as well as access to transportation and jobs. In addition, Walt Disney World plans to break ground on an affordable housing development next year. The 1,400 housing unit development will stretch across 80 acres of land. The first units are expected to be completed in 2026. It is these types of public-private partnerships we envision when I impaneled the Housing for All Task Force in 2019. With a commitment from the Orange County Board, we are investing $160 million over a 10-year period through the county's first housing trust fund to move the needle to increase the availability of affordable and workforce housing. To date, Orange County has invested over $67 million in affordable and attainable housing, to include $7 million, which went to the Universal Orlando Catchlight Crossings development. Thank you again to Universal Orlando and Walt Disney World for their partnership and commitment to affordable housing. And now, as I conclude my remarks, I want to again thank Cassandra Mate for her leadership and the Visit Orlando Board of Directors for your partnership. Of course, this work does not happen without a talented team. Please everyone, help me give a round of applause to the entire team of Visit Orlando. I look forward to continuing to work with you. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all of you.
Now, please welcome President and Managing Partner of Lowndes and Visit Orlando's General Counsel, Bill Diamond.
Good afternoon. Great to see all of you this afternoon. It is my privilege and pleasure to call the Visit Orlando 2023 annual meeting of the members to order. Each year, Visit Orlando members can vote upon the organization's slate of new board members. The slate of nominees, as presented by the nominating committee, is hereby submitted to you, the membership, for approval. Nominees are as follows: David Buckaloo, Buckaloo Hospitality; Jared Dillon, Orlando City Soccer; Jennifer Evans, United Arts of Central Florida; Chris Jaskowitz, Icon Park; David Lutz, Velvet Chainsaw Consulting; Paul Mears III, Hello Destination Management; and Terry Prather, Dr. Phillips Charities; Sean Verney, Walt Disney World, Swan and Dolphin Resort. I will now entertain a motion for approval of the slate as proposed. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. I ask that the main contact for each member of Visit Orlando to vote by raising your hand and saying aye when the vote and the question are called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. Opposed, like sign. Good news, the motion carries, and accordingly the slate for 2024 is hereby formally adopted. Congratulations to our new board of directors. As there are no other items of business, the annual meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you, and I wish each and every one of you a happy holiday season. It's now my privilege to turn the program over to Terry Prather, our wonderful Visit Orlando Board of Directors Chair. Mr. Prather.
Papa's got a brand new band.
Thank you, Bill.
And this is crazy to see.
We're going to have fun. Thank you, Bill. Before we introduce the full 2024 Board of Directors, I'd like to recognize our outgoing 2023 board members: Robert Gray, Donna Dyson, Barbara Poma, Fred Sawyers, Thomas Steinhauer, Justin Williams, and Evan Wyatt. These people did an incredible job serving our Visit Orlando. Thank you for all your commitment to our industry and service to Visit Orlando. Give them a round of applause. Today, I'm also pleased to announce the Visit Orlando Board of Directors for 2024. You can view the full board behind me on the screen. We're fortunate to have this group of talented, smart, engaged, and generous professionals that volunteer their time to serve. As a reminder, the board is made up of representatives from both Orange County and the City of Orlando's mayor's offices. There are also 2 members appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. In addition, we have industry executives from the airport, from hotels, the convention center, and theme parks, as well as other entities like UCF and the Orlando Economic Partnership. Our Board of Directors is responsible for setting direction, policymaking, and evaluation, and holding the entire organization accountable. This is a big job, so I'm thrilled to have this group of industry leaders joining me on the board. And I'd like to ask all the members of the Visit Orlando board, please stand to be recognized. Also, I'd like to recognize a special person here today with me. My wife, Shayla, joined me. She decided after 25 years she wanted to come see what I do for a living. and she's taking notes, and I'll get a critique later. But thank you, Shayla, for being here. 1 year ago, when Brian handed me that large gavel and I took the stage, Brian said this would be a boring year. He wasn't true about that. But I outlined 3 key priorities. First, I plan to support Cassandra and the Visit Orlando team with their efforts to carry out the three-year strategic plan. I'm pleased to share that we have continued to execute on that plan. Again and again, it has evolved to another plan that will guide us through 2026. To set us up for long-term success, Visit Orlando is leading an effort to develop a destination tourism master plan. The destination planning is important because it connects the dots between the visitor economy, the economic development of our community, and community well-being. This is an intentional process. In fact, we had our steering committee earlier this week. We're currently capturing feedback from our members in the community, leaders in the community, other stakeholders, and I'd like to invite each one of you to participate in this process. Take a moment, if you would, to scan the QR code on the screen and get access to the survey. We want your voices to be heard. We need all voices in this commitment. We will share updates on the plan as we move forward. For my second priority, I stress the need for us to be more intentional about diversity, equity, and inclusion. In March, we kicked off our multicultural campaign, Orlando for All, targeting our 4 audience segments: U.S. Hispanic, African American, the LGBTQ+ community, then Asian American and Pacific Islander community. Most recently, Visit Orlando partnered with iHeartMedia. And in that program, we had a colorful float in Orlando's Come Out with Pride parade. Over the summer, we showcased floats in the Dallas and the Chicago Pride parades. And this fall, we partnered with Passport Magazine on a comprehensive nationwide multimedia campaign. To celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, we created a video series with Univision honoring Orlando's diverse Hispanic food and music scene. I'm proud of our campaign to reach more diverse audiences, showcasing our inclusive and welcoming destination. I believe there's still work to be done when it comes to creating more opportunities for people of color in executive roles. However, as I've said many, many times, this industry is one of opportunity, and I'm living proof of that. And I am committed to working with industry leaders on that issue. Last but not least, I promised to do all I can to strengthen the travel and tourism industry, ensuring that the story of how travel and tourism benefits our community is heard loud and clear to all of our friends, family, and neighbors. To do this, we established a partnership with Tourism Economics to examine the value of our industry. The results were impressive. While our visitation levels have not yet reached our pre-pandemic levels, our visitor spending jumped to a new record high, $55.5 billion in spending. Billion with a B. That's a lot of money. What we learned recently, it's not enough. As you know, there have been many discussions in our community about Visit Orlando. Our industry rebounded strongly after COVID. Because of that rebound, our community is in a fortunate position to have a conversation of what to do with excise tourist development tax. We can't forget what put us in this position: a strong tourism economy, a strong tourism industry, and a lot of hard work from all of you and with Visit Orlando. This team to keep Orlando the #1 destination in the country. We can't take for granted the work that it took to get us here. Our competition is not pulling back, and it's getting fierce. Research shows we still have work to do. The word cloud behind me captures the first vacation destination that comes to mind when we ask people in other markets. And if you tell by the size of the words what destinations come first, here's what this tells us. The travel space is cluttered. The entire world is in the consumer's mind. We compete with cities, states, regions, and countries. We're not popping off the screen. Our job is not done until Orlando is the biggest and boldest, and we cannot become complacent. And I can tell you, your Visit Orlando team has their sights set on big things. Cassandra and I presented at a recent workshop, sharing with the members of the Board of County Commissioners what your Visit Orlando team does every day in line with our mission to inspire, promote, and grow global travel for economic and community benefits. Several Visit Orlando team members shared more about the true impact they see because of their work. Let's take a look.
What's most meaningful to me is when I go into a restaurant and I see convention attendees, or I walk into hotels and I see the hotels, they're fully staffed because of the convention business that we brought into the destination. Or when I walk into the Orange County Convention Center and I see over 20,000 women in technology at that convention center, knowing that I played a big role in bringing that business to our destination.
We are making that difference. We're not doctors, right? But we are making a difference in people's lives.
I literally flew back from London last night on a flight full of people coming here on vacation to Orlando. And I had this immense sense of pride knowing that the part that we play in training the travel professionals that they've booked with has led to them getting on that plane and coming out here for a fantastic time in Orlando.
When somebody comes up to me after an event or calls me just to tell me that they literally were a star on a headquarter ownership call because they had every single right answer to every single hard question that was thrown at them. And that is impactful. That's extremely powerful and rewarding to know.
So what's amazing this year is that Visit Orlando was able to secure more than 10 different production shoots covering several different locations throughout Orange County. Some are airing in 23, others are airing in 2024. It has the potential of reaching 205 million impressions.
So recently, one of the posts we did was from a local restaurant where they had a hamburger that had mac and cheese on it. And it was really exciting. People loved to see it. And we got comments that were like, oh, I had no idea this place existed, but I'm flagging it to visit on my next vacation to Orlando. Those are always exciting because it lets us know that we're showing people things that are so unique that they have to come back and try.
We get stopped right as we're walking into the property, and one of their valet attendants says, hey, I just want to say thank you for what you do. I said, okay, well, tell me more. And he says, well, I want to say thank you for what you do because I've now seen you here at my hotel 6 or 7 times in the last couple of weeks. And that tells me that when you show up, you're bringing business to our hotel. And I have 3 kids that all love to play sports. And he said, you know, when I see you, I know that you're bringing business to the property, and it gives me a chance to let my boys do what they love to do.
Every time I see that video, Travis gets to me because that's what it's all about. It's the people that we touch. And this was a small selection of stories from our team about the difference we make. You know, at that same meeting, I left the Board of County Commissioners workshop with 2 emotions. The first was pride. We shared our story of what we do every day and why, and the why behind it. The second emotion I felt was a little disappointment, because I realized that we as an industry haven't done enough to educate our community, our friends, our neighbors about our industry and the Visit Orlando's essential role in what we do. So many of our efforts are outside of Orlando, reaching other states and countries and around the world. And because our aim is to reach potential travelers, and as a result, many local residents just don't get the benefit of seeing these campaigns. We can and we will do more. Despite my disappointment, I have hope that we can more effectively share the positive impact of this industry on our community. As I was walking out of the Board of County Commissioners meeting that day, two of my neighbors from the communities of West Lakes came up to me. They were there to support the improvements at Campbell Royal Stadium. They stopped me to say that now they understand what Visit Orlando does and our impact on their community. So where are we in this process? We will continue discussions with the county staff and commissioners, and on January 23rd, the Board of County Commissioners will meet again with potential decisions. I appreciate all of your ongoing support, and I just want to remember this. We're all in this together. So thank you.
Thank you, Terry. I cannot thank you enough for your leadership over this past year. With your wisdom, support, and guidance, we have been able to accomplish so much. I'd also like to take a moment and recognize the great work that Terry has done both for Visit Orlando and the community on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Terry was honored as a diversity game changer during the Orlando Magic season game opener. Congratulations, Terry. Even though we have recently faced a lot of questions around our work, I want you to know our team has stayed focused on doing what we do best, and that's marketing and selling our destination for the economic and community benefit. And today, our theme is celebration. Looking back over this last year, we have a lot to celebrate, including several firsts for Visit Orlando and our destination. We continued to build upon the success of our new global brand, Unbelievably Real, to speak to all audiences, to have one voice for our destination. We conducted our first joint New York mission with the Orlando Economic Partnership, Orange County, and the City of Orlando to promote our Unbelievably Real destination. This included our first collaboration with Michelin to showcase Orlando's dining scene to the New York media. We expanded our campaign, reaching 10 markets, including Peru and Chile as emerging markets, and added Montreal with French-Canadian language efforts. Fun fact, that brings us to promoting Orlando in 4 different languages. We also worked hard to make sure our creative truly stood out. We did what was another first, a 3D billboard towering 7 stories in the heart of New York City. But we didn't stop there. You could find us in London on taxi cabs and in heated bus shelters, helping those winter-weary consumers think about sunny Orlando. And we complemented these efforts with fun activations in our key markets. For example, New York, we took over Bryant Park's popular ice skating with an Orlando skate night. Families skated to an Orlando Sunshine playlist, sipped hot cocoa, and snapped pictures inside an interactive Orlando sun globe. And in Mexico City, we joined our Orlando Magic, who played in the NBA's Global Game Series. Our creative reached audiences of a televised game in over 200 countries. And in the arena, fans rode the Visit Orlando virtual roller coaster, and to top it off, we launched our very first Mexico sweepstakes. And we know long-form storytelling is important to truly engage audiences. And that's why in 2023 alone, Visit Orlando secured 10 productions airing in 2023 and 2024. You can find them on services including Amazon Prime and Netflix, reaching audiences around the world, resulting in over 205 million impressions. We want to be sure we create opportunities for our local community to engage with our new brand. And that's now why we now have 2 unbelievably real murals in Orlando. The first was unveiled in April in celebration of 407 Day in downtown Orlando. The event was commemorated with an original poem by City of Orlando's Poet Laureate, Sean Welcome. And the second mural was completed just a few weeks ago at the Florida Mall, just in time for the busy holiday shopping season. For the meetings and conventions market, your Visit Orlando team booked more than 1,400 events this year for 2023 and beyond. This will result in a $3.2 billion economic impact for our community. Thank you. We partnered with Orlando Health, who is the official health and wellness partner of Visit Orlando, opening a clinic at the Orange County Convention Center to better serve attendees with health resources. And we maintained our spot as the #1 meeting destination in North America, according to CVent. Yes, thank you. And this is just a small example and selection of our accomplishments, and we hope to have much more in 2024. One of the exciting projects the team has been working on for the last year is a complete rehaul and redesign of our many websites. We, of course, started with research conducted with Orlando-based vendor C3R, and based on that, we began the selection of our design partner. And I'm happy to share with you, we didn't have to go far. We selected a local company, Purple Rock Scissors, as our design partner. And joining us here today is President and COO Rich Walt to provide you an update. Please welcome Rich.
Thank you, Cassandra. Good afternoon, everyone. We're grateful for the opportunity to work alongside the fantastic Visit Orlando team, bringing to life a new, innovative, and effective website that truly captures the essence of our vibrant city. This website is more than just a digital tool. It's a community hub, reflecting our approach to creating a space that embodies the spirit of Orlando. Every decision was informed by thorough research and testing. These 6 practices played a crucial role in our collaboration with the Visit Orlando team, and they provide valuable insights that you may want to incorporate into your own strategies if you haven't done so already. Number 1, metadata mastery. Think of your website's metadata as an online handshake. Make sure that page titles, meta descriptions, and image descriptions are engaging, accurate, and specific. Number 2, search engine optimization and the EAT strategy. In the world of SEO, content is king, but context is the kingdom. An EAT strategy stands for expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. This ensures that your content is not just valued, but it's also trusted. Tailor your content to speak directly to your industry's unique audience. Number 3, speed and simplicity. In an age of instant gratification, a website that loads quickly isn't a nice-to-have, it's essential. Keep images under 500 kilobytes and your videos short and light, and ideally under 50 megabytes and 90 seconds. Number 4, accessibility. By meeting what's called the WCAG accessibility standards, you're doing more than reaching a wider audience. You're showing respect and consideration for every user. Whether it's through thoughtful color contrast, screen reader compatibility, remember, inclusivity is really what matters. Number 5, responsiveness. With the rise in mobile, a responsive website is a must. Ensure that your site looks and functions well across all devices. And finally, number 6, fresh content and clear CTAs. Keep your audience engaged with fresh content and clear calls to action. Speak to them, not at them. And don't shy away from embracing AI and other emerging technologies to craft unique, interactive experiences. Again, this is more than a website. It's a digital embodiment of our collective spirit. In this rapidly evolving digital landscape, let's lead the way. Thank you for allowing us to be part of this exciting journey. Together, we're going to make Orlando not just a place to visit, but a digital phenomenon to experience. And now, here's a preview of the new Visit Orlando website launching early next year.
Woohoo! Thank you, Rich. Many of you have heard me say that Visit Orlando, we don't own theme parks, we don't own hotels, but we do own visitorlando.com. And so we're very excited about this project. There have been lots of hours in creating this, and we cannot wait to launch this with you next year. We have one more 2023 accomplishment to celebrate today, and that's Visit Orlando's Magical Dining. Terry, I know how much you love magical dining, so please join me for this very important announcement.
All right. Thanks, Cassandra. This is one of my favorite programs because it's a perfect combination of 3 ingredients. It makes a real impact on our community. It supports local restaurants. And of course, who doesn't love a great meal?
That's true.
Cassandra, before we share more on the charitable donation, you have some news on restaurants.
I do. Last year, we actually started a new fun tradition recognizing some of our top performing restaurants. And we have a few special guests today, and they really don't know why they're here.
Come on over.
We're going to have you stand right here. Of the record-breaking 132 restaurants, we added 22 new restaurants this year. And the top performing new restaurant with a $40 menu was the Pinery. The top performing new restaurant with a $60 menu was Ava Mediterranean. The restaurant with the largest increase from 2022 to 2023 was the Naughty Lobster.
The Naughty.
And the overall top performing restaurant for Visit Orlando's Magical Dining in 2023, Seasons 52. We're going to take a photo. We're going to take a quick photo, Terry.
All right, photos. Get tight. Let's get close.
Let's. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and thank you so much for participating in this great program. We look forward to see what you do next year.
Congratulations to these 4 restaurants and to everyone that participated in Visit Orlando's Magical Dining. Being a part of Magical Dining means that you are making a difference in our community. Here's a quick reminder of the important work of Lifeboat Project, this year's charity beneficiary.
The Lifeboat Project's mission is to bring long-term and short-term care to survivors of human trafficking. We want to help take them to live the best life that they can possibly live a life of freedom and hope.
Human trafficking in the state of Florida, sadly, we rank 3rd in the United States. And when you narrow that down to Central Florida, Orlando and Miami are tied for 3rd in the United States. 3rd. Think about what a survivor has gone through. Nobody can even come close to believing what they have experienced in their life. The trauma is unbelievable.
And so having housing and wraparound services is so important, and that's really where Lifeboat started to focus. What we try to do is mentor them with people in the community that volunteer with us, provide medical, dental, whatever it is that they need, we try to provide for them. Watching them blossom and grow into thinking and feeling for themselves is amazing. It's truly a gift.
I thank Visit Orlando that they had the foresight to take this on to help rectify the situation. So here we are now with a great partnership between the Lifeboat Project and Visit Orlando to help fund and assist those people that have been trafficked.
Not only has Visit Orlando stepped up to really help bring awareness about this, but so have the local restaurants. And I am so honored and proud that they are a part of this wonderful magical dining.
And we're grateful to those 100+ restaurants that have really come out of pocket to support the cause. It's a great way for the community to get involved and do something they would normally do, because every victim and or survivor that we save is one less person that's out there being victimized on a daily basis.
Please welcome to the stage our friends from Lifeboat Project, Jill Belander-Cohen, founder and CEO, and Ed Gilbert, chairman of the board at Lifeboat Project. On behalf of Orlando's tourism community, I am thrilled to share that for 2023, Visit Orlando's Magical Dining raised $269,272. They won't take this one at the bank. We'll take it. I mean, $269,272 to that important project because of what you do. That's a 44% increase over 2022, bringing the grand total for the amount Visit Orlando's Magical Dining has raised for our community to over $2.5 million.
That's amazing, and we do good work, and that's why we do what we do every single day. But to ensure that we also helped with widespread impact, just a couple of years ago, we also instituted and wanted to let you know that Visit Orlando also awarded $2,000 to a local nonprofit in each of 6 commission districts that are helping survivors of abuse. Thank you to all the commendable work that you are doing for our community. It is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, and I know many of you, we've gotten emails and calls, are very excited about our keynote speaker. With a remarkable career that includes steering 11 Madison Park to its status as the #1 best restaurant in the world, founding the Welcome Conference, which is the world's preeminent hospitality conference, earning a spot on the Wall Street Journal's Innovator list, and authoring the best-selling book, Unreasonable Hospitality. He is a true luminary in the world of hospitality and innovation. Please welcome Will Gadara.
I've had a lot of walk-on songs. I've never had slow jams like that. But I guess that's the vibe. Guys, I'm so happy to be here. I mean it when I say there's a sincere just energy in this room that's pretty infectious. And so thank you all so much for having me. All right, I'll take that. I got to 11 Madison Park in 2006. At the time, the restaurant was a middling brasserie, right? The food was delicious, but not all that technically innovative. The service was very friendly, but not very precise. But the room, if you've never been to 11 Madison Park or you've never seen a picture of it online, the room is one of the most beautiful in the world. And I was brought in as a part of a team that was charged with elevating the restaurant experience such that it lived up to that room. I don't know about all of you, but when I'm charged with making something better, the first thing I focus on is excellence. In the kitchen, we brought in new equipment. We started introducing new techniques. We hired cooks who had worked in some of the best restaurants in the country. We started sourcing better ingredients. We went from an a la carte menu to a tasting menu so that we could focus more on fewer plates of food. In the dining room, we did a lot of the same. We removed tables so we could serve a better experience for less people. We started getting fancier plates and shinier silverware and nicer glasses. We started testing the entire team on a weekly basis to ensure they had the requisite knowledge required to elevate and deliver the experience we were trying to deliver. And we focused on these things relentlessly. And it started to work. Within a few years, we went from 2 stars in the New York Times to 3 stars and ultimately to 4 stars. By the way, that's the most stars you can get. We went from 0 Michelin stars to 1 Michelin star, and then became the first restaurant in the history of the guide to go from 1 to 3 in a single year. And I say this not to self-celebrate, but for context, it'll make sense in a moment. That is also the most stars you can get. We were feeling ourselves pretty hard. And then one day I walked into the restaurant to go through my normal morning routine. I went into the kitchen, said hello to the cooks, did the same in the dining room with the servers. I made myself a coffee, went into my office, started going through the mail. And eventually I stumbled on a letter, and in the upper left-hand corner, it said the world's 50 best restaurants. Guys, this was a big moment for me. This was our white whale, our Moby Dick. It was the one thing we had yet to accomplish. And that list, in my world, is very important because it's the first of its kind, the first to rank every restaurant in the world against one another. And it's been impactful for a couple reasons. A, as they gather people together on an annual basis, the best chefs from all over the world, they've created community where those chefs have inspired one another through the sharing of ideas, and it has evolved the craft of cooking globally. It's also really good, though, because for every restaurant out there like us that had achieved all the accolades in their region, it gave them something more to reach for, something to strive for. I think everyone in this room can agree that you don't do anything of significance just for the accolades, but the accolades are a beautiful carrot, a great way to motivate you and to give you things to help you motivate the people around you. And with this list, every restaurant in the world, save one each year, had something more to aspire to achieve. So we were fired up. I teared open the envelope, looked at the letter. It said, "Congratulations, you've been added to the list of the 50 best restaurants in the world. Come to London in June for the ceremony." Obviously, we went. The awards are not dissimilar to the Oscars. You get dressed up in your fanciest tuxedo. You go to this larger-than-life auditorium. It's filled with your heroes. For me, the chefs that I've been looking up to my entire career, people I so desperately wanted to meet. But it's very different from the Oscars in one significant way. If you're nominated for an Oscar, when they get to your category, you're desperate that they call your name, right? Here, if you're in the room, you know you're one of the 50 best restaurants in the world. You just don't know where on the list you fall until you get there. They start at 50, they count down to 1. Here, you are desperate that they do not call your name for as long as humanly possible. Now, we had assigned seating. Something about me. I like to gamify everything in life. I actually think it's one of my superpowers as a leader. People have asked me over the years, how did I challenge my team to get better and better and better with each passing year? I always say very simply, well, I didn't have to. I just worked to make the work feel enough like a game, one we all really enjoyed playing. And anyone who's ever played a game that they like playing, you know the more you play, the better you get. Right before I sold my company, we had restaurants across the country and around the world. I was always very close to the busboys. I just got along with them, A, and B, I think it's an important thing to do when you're leading a company to make sure that you are close to the people all the way on the very front of the front line. That's a great way to make sure you actually know what's happening in your businesses and to ensure that everyone in the organization doesn't think that you've gotten too big for your britches. And when I go to one of the restaurants, I'd go to one of the busboys that I had a relationship with, and I'd say, tonight it's me versus you. Whoever clears more of your dishes first wins. It wasn't to shame them. It was to show that if something as simple as clearing dirty plates can be fun, then everything about our business can be fun. But yeah, I do like to gamify everything. And so I looked at where our assigned seating was relative to where the people who had come in number 1 through 5 the year before were sitting to try to guess where we're going to fall. And I think I guessed like number 35. Now, I'm certain there must have been, right? The normal preambles, the welcomes, the thank you for comings from the big, handsome, debonair British MC at the front of the room before he started things. But all I really remember was him saying, and let's kick things off, at number 50, a new entry from New York City, 11 Madison Park. And I was like, fuck! It's my first year there. We're the first restaurant called. Turns out the assigned seating has nothing to do with where you fall on the list. I couldn't possibly have known that they give you assigned seating so that they can train the camera on your reaction and project it in front of the entire room, which I remind you is filled with my heroes. It is when everyone else, regardless of how they felt, would pretend to be happy and they'd smile and they'd wave, and yet there I was looking like I'd literally just gotten kicked in the groin. They finished the countdown. Got down to 1, and everyone filtered out of the main room to the adjacent room for cocktails. I was nursing my sorrows over a gin and tonic, and there was this one chef, some of you might know who he is, who I was so desperate to meet. His name is Massimo Bottura, an Italian chef whose restaurant Osteria Francescana would later become number 1. By the way, I say an Italian chef, and I'm drawn back to what I saw before with Italy in big letters in the middle. I'm of Italian descent, and right now, for whatever reason, I just want to crush Italy with all of you. I just want to see Orlando there. Anyway, this guy was someone I was so excited to meet, and he strides across the room directly to me, and in this very thick Italian accent, he goes, "Hey, you looked really happy up there." Fair enough. I did what any mature professional would do in a moment of profound disappointment. I left the party early, went back to the hotel, stole a bottle of whiskey from behind the bar, started drinking, going through the stages of grief. We hung out for a little while on anger. Who are these people? We're one of the best restaurants in America at this point. How are we last place on this list? By the way, a note about anger. I think in this day and age, we're so focused on mental wellness and cultures of positivity and general optimism that in some cases, we've lost sight of the fueling power of anger. My dad always says adversity is a terrible thing to waste. You can't control what life throws at you, but you can control how you react to it, how you let it drive your competitiveness, what you choose to learn from it. I believe that anger is a beautiful thing if we allow ourselves to fully feel it for a measure of time and then move on. But if we move on too quickly, we're sacrificing the opportunity that anger presents us to push us to be better. And so we sat in anger for a minute before we moved on, ultimately landing on acceptance. Because here's the reality. Okay, it's patently absurd to say one restaurant is the best restaurant in the world, right? There's too many restaurants, it's too subjective. What that list actually acknowledges is the restaurant that's having the greatest impact on the world of restaurants at any given time. At this point, we'd been there for a bit. Our food was now extraordinary. Our service was as close to technically perfect as possible, and our dining room was still world class. And it was for those reasons that we were on the list at all, but when we paused for long enough to think about it, we had not yet done anything of genuine impact. I don't know about all of you, but whenever I set out to accomplish an audacious goal, I like to look at those who have accomplished it before me. I like to study what they did, take those lessons, make them my own, and have a go at it myself. And so I started studying the restaurants that had become number one. There was a restaurant in Spain called El Bulli. The chef Ferran Adria there pioneered the techniques called molecular gastronomy, and in doing so, influenced the way that restaurants around the world cook. Another restaurant in Copenhagen called Noma, where the chef René Redzepi pioneered the whole idea of foraging for local ingredients, creating a restaurant where that experience wouldn't make sense anywhere else in the world but there. Each of these chefs changed the game by being unreasonable in pursuit of the product they served and relentless in pursuit of how it needed to change. My dad, he gave me this paperweight when I was a kid. It said, "What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail?" He's challenged me over the course of my life and my work at varying intervals to ask myself that question and be honest in my answer, and whatever that answer is, just to try to do that. I just always say that if you don't have the confidence and conviction to dream your biggest dreams out loud, they're never going to come true. But yet, so many people are scared to say their most audacious goals out loud for fear that if they do and don't achieve them, they'll let themselves and those around them down. That night, on a cocktail napkin, I wrote, "We will be number one in the world." But a goal without a strategy is nothing more than a pipe dream. I needed to figure out what our impact was going to be. If those chefs were unreasonable in pursuit of product and relentless in pursuit of how it needed to change, that night I decided that our impact was going to come through being unreasonable in pursuit of people and relentless in pursuit of the one thing that will never change, which is our human desire to feel seen, to feel a sense of belonging, our general wanting to feel welcome. And so underneath, "We will be number one in the world," I wrote those two words, unreasonable hospitality. Next day, I got on a plane to head back home, looked at the cocktail napkin, and quickly realized I had no idea what those two words meant. I think that's okay. I think far too many people or companies spend so much time trying to perfectly articulate an idea that they never start pursuing anything. I think we need to trust in life and in work that if we feel enough of a connection to a thought, just start going after it and it will reveal itself to you along the way. I got back to the team the next day and gathered everyone together in pre-meal. Hey, quick raise your hands. Who here has worked in a restaurant before? Sick. Okay, so most of you know this. For those of you who have never worked in a restaurant, pre-meal is the 30-minute meeting we have with our team before we open the doors and start serving our guests. Most restaurants do it. Unfortunately, many waste it. A wasted pre-meal is one where you talk about a bunch of things that could so clearly be communicated via an email. A great pre-meal is not an opportunity just to talk about the what, but also about the how and the why. It's an opportunity for a leader to share these things that have inspired them out in the world and invite the people on their team to do the same in return. A daily pre-meal, or in other industries, a proper daily huddle, is the thing that allows you to take the people you work with and turn them from a collection of individuals into a trusting team, unlocking a collective creativity and capacity that is required to do anything of consequence. If anyone in this room doesn't have some version of a daily huddle, I implore you to figure out how to add one into your culture. It can be transformational. And so every day in pre-meal, for weeks, I said to the team, hey, we are going to be number one in the world. And we're going to do it through unreasonable hospitality. A note on how I believe leaders should work with their teams. A leader's responsibility is to bring the what and the why. I was saying we are going to be number one. Why? Because we're going to focus on unreasonable hospitality. Then it's the entire team's responsibility to, along with that leader, identify the how. It was me and my team's responsibility to figure out what that meant. How does a restaurant embrace unreasonable hospitality? And so collectively we got started. And we did what felt obvious to us, right? We looked through the restaurant experience and tried to figure out how to make elements of it more hospitable. And we worked at it for a little while. We focused on the way we were welcoming people when they walked through the doors, how we were explaining the menu, taking their order, delivering their food. But then one day I had this realization that we were focusing on only the most obvious touch points in the guest journey, which, by the way, were invariably the same ones our competitors were focusing on. Something I've learned over the past 10 years, running my own company and working with others, very few people in the customer service industry actually know what every touch point in that guest journey is because they've never paused for long enough to really interrogate the idea. And so we closed the restaurant for lunch one day, and we did an exercise that I now call interrogating the guest journey. I brought everyone in the team in. When I say everyone, I mean everyone. There's a former naval captain named David Marquet who says that in most organizations, the people at the top have all the authority, and the people on the front line have all the information. Brainstorming something, you need to figure out how to bridge the gap between authority and information if you want to do anything truly innovative. So we got everyone in the room, dishwashers, busboys, all the way up to ownership. We broke them up into groups, and we gave them those really long rolls of paper, right? And I said, hey, I want you to interrogate the guest journey. I want you to identify with annoying specificity every single touch point. After about an hour, on average, the groups were like, we're done. They had about 30 touch points. I said, no, you're not. Keep going. Another hour after that, they said, we're done again. They'd gotten up to about 60 or 70. I said, no, you're not. Keep going. They were getting frustrated. But after about 3 hours, we had gotten pretty far. On average, there were about 120 touch points listed out on this page. Everything that happened from the moment someone thought about coming to our restaurant until a few weeks after they left. When I say specific, I mean someone walks into the restaurant. If their table's open, they go directly to the table. If it's not, they go to the bar to wait for the table over a drink. You get the gist. Every little thing. I'll give you an example. Very, very close to the end of the roll, it said, we dropped the check. Obviously, you have to pay for your dinner when you go to a restaurant. And yet, in spite of the fact that this happens at every single meal anyone's ever been to, it's very rarely, if ever, had any creativity or innovation applied to that part of the experience. I shouldn't say never. Who here has ever gone to a diner and you get one of those red and white pinwheel mints? It's actually impactful. Cornell University did a study, I read about this in a book called Giftology, where they compared 1,000 diners that gave that mint to 1,000 that didn't. The ones that did, on average, had 18% higher tips. Proof that generosity begets generosity at a wildly asymmetrical rate, because that 18% is worth far more than the cost of the mint. But outside of that, very few restaurants have ever dealt with that, perhaps because it's an inherently transactional part of the experience, and we have this flawed belief system that selling transactional can't be hospitable. Or perhaps in fine dining, it's because, well, that's when you realize how much that meal actually costs. And when you realize that, it can kind of, the pleasure index is askew. It's also a really hard part of the meal to get right. Because everyone in this room, regardless of whether you realize it, the moment you ask for the check, you get very impatient. If it takes us too long to get you the check after you've asked for it, we've undone all the goodwill we built up. And yet at the same time, I can't drop the check on your table before you've asked for it. Otherwise, what do you think I'm trying to do? So, now that we had isolated drop the check, we could start elevating that part of the experience. We got a group together. This is what we came up with. When you were done with your meal, I knew you were done. You hadn't asked for the check, but I knew you were done. I'd walk over to your table with a bunch of glasses and a bottle of cognac, a full bottle of cognac. I'd put a glass in front of each of you, and then I'd put the entire bottle on the table, and I'd say, hey, thank you for coming. This is with my compliments. Drink of it as much as you'd like. And then I'd put the check down. Okay, what did we accomplish? Well, first, no one ever had to ask for the check again, right? Second, no one could ever tell us that we were trying to rush them out of the restaurant. We'd just given them an entire bottle of free booze. Didn't cost us that much. Very rarely did anyone drink more than that splash we'd poured into their glass after a long night of drinking red wine. And at the very moment we gave them that big check, we'd matched that moment with a gesture of crazy generosity which kept the value proposition intact. Perhaps my favorite thing, I believe that great hospitality makes you feel like you're at a friend's house for dinner. My favorite part when I have friends over to my place for dinner is that moment at the end of the night when there's only a few people left and someone grabs that last half-empty bottle of wine and pours the remains into the glasses that are still there. At the end of a night where we had very, very intensely waited on everyone's every need, we gave them the gift of being able to serve one another. All of this because we had isolated it as a part of the experience and then elevated it. I've spoken to so many people over the years who, remember, we're serving some of the best food in the country at this point, don't remember a single thing they ate, but they remember the cognac. We're not the only people who have done this. Raise your hands if you've ever eaten at Five Guys. Okay, when I say Five Guys, what do you think of? Peanuts. Five Guys, as far as I know, is the only fast food restaurant in the world that had the wherewithal to recognize that the time spent waiting for your burger to be cooked is a touch point in the guest experience. And they're the only ones that have done anything with that moment. Say what you will about it. They put out a box of peanuts on the shelves. You grab some for free. You take them out of the shelves. You eat them while you wait. Perhaps it's to make the wait go by a bit more quickly. Perhaps it's a little dose of generosity. Perhaps it's so that they can celebrate the fact that their fries are cooked in peanut oil. It honestly doesn't matter. Because they've done something where no one else has ever done anything, it's given them an unfair competitive advantage. See, finding the least likely touch points in the guest journey and doing just a little bit with those moments gives you an unbelievably good opportunity to impact the people you're serving. I challenge you, regardless what industry you're in, find a couple touch points that no one else has thought about and just make them a little more awesome. By the way, you'll hear me use the word awesome a lot. I think we get to a certain age, corporate America, we stop using that word. I think if you are in the business of making people happy, that's your entire job, is to make as many things as possible more awesome. I am on a national campaign to bring awesome back. I'll take that. Okay, so we did this through the entire experience. Some big ones, a lot of small ones, but honestly, even the small ones are impactful. Raindrops make oceans. If you make enough small changes, the cumulative impact is transformational. But I still didn't think we'd found anything unreasonable, truly unreasonable, about our approach. And then about a year and a half later, and you might have heard this story, I apologize if you have, I found myself in the dining room on a busier than normal lunch service. The team was in the weeds, I was out there bussing tables. And I found myself clearing appetizers from one table. It was a table of foodies on vacation to New York from Europe. And their entire reason for being on vacation in New York was to eat at restaurants. In fact, this was their last meal. They're going to the airport to head back home after it. And while I was there, I overheard them talking. And they were raving about the dinners they'd had. They'd been to Le Bernardin, Danielle, Per Se, Momofuku, now 11 Madison Park. But then one woman jumped in and said, yeah, but you know what? The only thing we didn't have was a hot dog from one of the street carts. You know that moment in a cartoon where the light bulb goes off over the character's head? As calmly as I could, I walked into the kitchen, dropped off the plates, and then literally ran outside of the hot dog cart, brought a hot dog, ran back into the kitchen. Now came the hard part, convincing my fancy chef to serve it in our fancy restaurant. But I asked him to trust me. More so, I told him it was important to me. That second line was a big one in our world. Here's the thing, if you are lucky enough to work alongside other people that are like-minded and passionate about wanting to be the best, please don't take that for granted. It's a beautiful thing. I guarantee you a lot of people in this room have had the experience of being in a job where you care more about everyone else. In fact, raise your hand if you've ever had that experience, where you've worked somewhere where you've cared more than everyone else. Okay, if you're not raising your hand, you are the everyone else. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. When you are in a situation where finally you are surrounded by other people that are awesome, don't take it for granted, and also recognize that there will always be tension. Because even if you agree on what you're trying to achieve, as human beings, we will invariably constantly disagree on the best way to achieve it. And when passionate people disagree, there is tension. Part of the human condition, in moments of tension, we want to lean away, right? It's uncomfortable. But those are the moments where you should lean in, A, to celebrate what that tension represents, and B, because proceeding through those moments of tension brings you closer to the person you're sharing that tension with and gives you both the opportunity to figure out what is best for the business as a whole. We were all really passionate. We wanted to be the best in the world. We came from different walks of life. There was always a lot of tension. And so we had ways to get through it. One, if you and I were ever disagreeing on something, either of us could say, time out, switch sides. What that meant was I now had to start arguing your position, and you needed to start arguing mine. Funny thing about human beings, we just want to be right. The moment you start arguing the thing that you were just arguing against, now you want that thing. It's a beautiful way to force empathy. Sometimes that wouldn't work, and I could say, all right, time out, third option. What that meant is if neither one of us has been able to convince the other person of our respective position, maybe neither of our ideas are good enough. Maybe those are both off the table now, and we need to work together to come up with a third option that's better than both of them. But sometimes that wouldn't work either, and either person could at any moment say, hey, this is important to me. And then the other person's responsibility was to recognize that their peer cared more than they did, and therefore they should just get their way. Obviously, there was the underlying rule you were never allowed to overplay the "this is important to me" card. But I played it there, and he cut the hot dog up into 4 perfect pieces, and we added a little swish of ketchup and a swish of mustard. The people that were just on stage getting those awards know exactly what I'm talking about right now. A perfect little scoop of sauerkraut and relish to each plate. We made it look so fancy. And before their final savory course, which at the time was our signature honey lavender glazed Muscovy duck that had been dry aged for 2 weeks, utilizing a technique that had taken years to perfect, I brought out what we in New York call a dirty water dog to their table. And I explained it. I said, hey, I want to make sure you don't go home with any culinary regrets. Here's your New York City hot dog. Guys, there are not words to articulate the extent to which they freaked out. At this point in my career, I'd served millions of dollars worth of food, Wagyu beef, lobster, caviar, truffles, you name it. I'd never seen anyone react to anything I'd served like they did to that hot dog. Athletes always go to the tapes and they've had a bad game to see what they did wrong, to try to make sure they don't repeat those mistakes. What they don't often enough do, what honestly none of us often enough do, is go to the tapes when we've had a good game to see what we did well, to make sure we keep on doing that thing. That's how you put intention to intuition. That's how you take these moments of seemingly accidental brilliance that happen within your organization and grab onto them and hold onto them and put systems behind them to make sure that they keep on happening. So I went to the tapes. What happened to make that hot dog happen? What did we need to start doing to make sure it would start happening all the time? It was 3 things. Being present, not taking ourselves too seriously, and one size fits one. Okay, being present, way overused these days. It's kind of like a woo-woo thing, but honestly, it's essential in hospitality. Listen, for me, being present, it just means caring so much about the person you're with that you stop caring about all the other things you need to do. And these days, with the constant distraction of these things or our ever-growing to-do lists, we all are really struggling to slow down for long enough and actually listen to the people around us, the things they're saying and the things they're not saying. We have this flawed understanding of efficiency. We believe the more efficient you try to be, the more efficient you are. I think that's actually not true. If when I was at that table, I was trying to optimize for efficiency, I would have been scanning the room to look at where the other tables were, to figure out what else needed to be done and in what order I needed to do those things to get us through the service in as efficient way as humanly possible. But had I been doing that, I would not have heard that throwaway line about the hot dog. Second, yes, if you want to be the best, I know everyone here does, you better take what you do seriously. And also, we all need to stop taking ourselves so seriously. Way too often, especially in customer service, we let these self-imposed standards get in the way of us giving those around us the things that will bring them the most joy. Brands are so important. They are our bumper stickers to the world, but the day your brand tells you that you are not allowed to do the thing that will make one of your stakeholders happy, that relationship is out of whack. A hot dog in a 4-star restaurant is sacrilegious until you look at how it made them feel. And then third, I like to redefine the word hospitality every year or so. I think if you believe in an idea, figure out all the different ways you can articulate that idea. It gives you a better understanding of it, and by definition makes you better at explaining it to those around you. One of my favorite definitions of hospitality is that it is about making other people feel seen. If that's the case, the best way to do it is not to treat them like a commodity, but a unique individual. I really believe I could have given that table a free bottle of vintage champagne and one of those orange Home Depot buckets filled with caviar. It would not have had the same impact as that hot dog because it would not have been specific to them. In unreasonable hospitality, one size fits one. The greatest gestures are bespoke to the person receiving them. I went back into pre-meal and talked about the hot dog and these 3 things and encouraged the team to go out there and do it themselves, to be present, stop taking themselves so seriously, and to find one size fits one gestures to deliver to the people they were serving. They were fired up. Obviously, sounds fun. But within a few weeks, I realized we had only done a couple of these things. See, I was making the same mistake I think a lot of leaders make. We come up with an amazing idea. We give permission to the team to get behind that idea, but we don't give them the resources that make it possible for them to deploy that idea. A lot of you raised your hands when I said who's worked in restaurants. I don't know about the restaurants you've worked at, but in mine, we didn't have a bench in the kitchen with people just chilling out during service to go run errands. And so I added a position to the team. Someone whose only job was to help everyone else in the team bring their ideas to life. They were on the floor with us every single night. I called the position the Dreamweaver, named after the iconic song by Gary Wright. If you've heard it, it's now stuck in your head. And with the addition of that position, we were on fire. We did little things that cost us a little bit of money. There was a guy from LA on business to New York, also headed to the airport after his meal. We overheard him saying, "Shoot, I promised my daughter one thing, the stuffed teddy bear with the I Heart NY t-shirt. I forgot to get it. I'm not going to have time. She's going to be so mad at me." Easy. The Dreamweavers found one, got it for him. On his way out the door, we gave him the teddy bear. Grown-ass businessman starts crying on his way out of the restaurant. We did bigger things that cost us a bit more money. A family of 4 from Spain was dining with us, parents and their children. We had these big, big windows, and it started snowing. We realized that it was the first time the kids had ever seen real snow. Somehow the Dreamweavers found a store still open selling sleds at 8 o'clock on a Friday night, and when they left the restaurant, there was an Uber SUV with the sleds in the back, a big thermos of hot cocoa in the front, for the best nightcap of all time, a few hours of play in the freshly fallen snow at Central Park. Or we did really big things that didn't even cost a penny. One time there was a couple dining with us. They'd just gotten married at City Hall. This was now their wedding night, right? They had actually a really big wedding plan, but there was some drama between the families. It was too much. They canceled it. The server, on her own, committed herself to, over the course of their meal, figuring out what their wedding song would have been. And we slowed down their meal just enough so they were the last people in the room. When they were done, we brought them into the private dining room, where my entire team was in their street clothes having a party. Well, their wedding reception. When they walked in on cue, we pressed play on their wedding song, Lovely Day by Bill Withers. We had given them the gift of their first dance. Guys, we were loving this stuff. We were making the guests super happy, but it also revolutionized the vibes within the restaurant. We became addicted, and we wanted more of it. But here's the problem with the things I just told you about. They are inherently reactive, right? You need to pick up on something that someone says, you need to turn it around, do something with it, and give it back. You can't force these things, otherwise they'll feel contrived. So we started to try to identify whether we could systemize improvisational hospitality. And this is where it got really exciting. Closed the restaurant again for lunch, brought the entire team in again, rolled out those long pieces of paper again, but with a slightly different activity this time. They weren't there to brainstorm the touch points, the things that happen for everyone always. They were there to do an activity I now call pattern recognition of recurring moments, to identify the things that just happened often, once a week, twice a week, whatever it was. Because if we could identify those in advance, and then with some intention and creativity, figure out in advance how we were going to respond when they presented themselves, we could start creating magic constantly. We cleared out a closet in the back. We called it the Hospitality Toolkit Closet. And we started filling it with things that would be easy for our team to deploy in a moment's notice. On that list were a bunch of things, right? Obviously, people went to the airport a lot after their dinner. That ended up on the list. We hired a graphic designer. We made these beautiful boxes that said 11 Madison Park airplane food, filled them with palatable food to eat on the plane. Every time someone said they were on their way to the airport, server went back, grabbed one, gave it to them. Was it any less special for the people because we had a bunch more in the back? No, it was still very specific to their circumstance. Perhaps my favorite, a lot of people got engaged at our restaurant. Raise your hand if you've ever gotten engaged in a restaurant. Did they pour you free champagne? Okay, good. Otherwise I would have said you got engaged at the wrong restaurant. Because pouring free champagne, that's reasonable hospitality, right? Now that we'd identified it, me and this group, whoever it was, we said, how do we make it unreasonable? This is what we came up with. Tiffany & Co. had their offices across the park. We found the CMO. Over the course of a few meetings, we convinced her to give us 1,000 of the iconic Tiffany blue boxes, each with 2 champagne flutes in them. Threw them in the toolkit closet. Next time someone got engaged, we poured them free champagne like we always would have. But what they wouldn't realize was that their glasses looked a little different from everyone else's. When they were done, we removed the glasses, washed them, dried them back in the box, and on their way out, we'd give them those glasses, congratulating them on their big moment, thanking them for trusting us. Didn't cost us a penny. Well, it cost Tiffany quite a bit of money. But I guarantee you they more than made up on that investment through everything that ended up on their registries. And I've talked to so many people who got engaged there that don't remember a single thing they ate, but they remember how those glasses made them feel. We did countless stuff, right, between the touch points, the Dreamweaver, the toolkit, over the course of 7 years. And 7 years later, in 2017, we were in Melbourne for the awards. Went back, new, fancier tuxedo this time. Got into the room, 50, thank God, not us. 40, not us. 30, not us. 20, completely blacked out. Came back to at 5, not us. 4, not us. 3, not us. Now there's 2 restaurants left. You know how this works, right? If they call the number 2 restaurant, it's not you. You know you've won. And guess who the other restaurant was? And it's so poetic, and I only say this because he's now one of my closest friends. The frickin' Italian guy from year 1. They called his restaurant. We became the #1 restaurant in the world. Not, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Not because of our excellence. Yeah, we were excellent. If you want to be the best, you better be excellent. This is not a speech to give you grace, to not focus on details and be excellent. But we realize that at a certain level, excellence becomes table stakes. If you want to be the best of the best, that comes through hospitality. We had made the choice to be as unreasonable in pursuit of how we were making people feel as every other restaurant on that list was in pursuit of the product they were serving those people. I'm talking about this, and I wrote the book about this because I believe unreasonable hospitality is a win-win-win. Okay, yes, it makes the customers, the guests, much, much happier, right? Obviously. But it's also really good for the bottom line. Yeah, we spent money on unreasonable hospitality, but every dollar I spent on it was far more impactful than any dollar I'd ever spent on traditional marketing. Because you give people stories like this to tell, they want to tell them over and over and over again. And suddenly you wake up one day and you have legions of ambassadors out there singing your praises and preaching your dharma. And hey, people will always respond much more positively to someone they know and trust saying you are great than when they see an ad that is clearly you saying you are great. Unreasonable hospitality made us much more profitable. And 3, it was just great for our team. Because for the first time, everyone in the dining room was no longer just serving plates of food that someone else created. They were imbuing the experience with their own creativity. And I have yet to meet a single individual that won't give more of themselves to help something succeed than once they feel they've had a genuine hand in determining what that thing is. Not to mention the fact that we were just making people really, really happy, and I have yet to find something more energizing than seeing the look on someone else's face when they receive a gift you are responsible for giving them. Maya Angelou has this quote. She says, "People will forget what you say, they'll forget what you do, but they'll never forget how you made them feel." We made a lot of people feel really, really good, but perhaps most of all, we made ourselves feel frickin' incredible. In pre-meal, I used to talk often about the nobility of service. I think it's important to talk about, because I don't care how much you like your job. Sometimes work sucks. And it's really hard to bring yourself, your most full self, to the work on the difficult days unless you understand why what you do is genuinely impacting other people. We used to talk about how what we did was important. How in restaurants, we can help people celebrate some of the most important moments of their lives. Conversely, we can give them the grace, if only for a few hours, to forget about their most difficult moments. How we can inspire people to be better versions of themselves through our attention to detail or our creativity. And if I'm getting super soapboxy, because I really believe this with every ounce of my being, how we could make the world a nicer place just by being really, really nice to everyone that walked through our doors. How we had this beautiful opportunity, perhaps even a responsibility, to create our own little magical worlds in a world that increasingly is in need of more magic. I talk about that. That includes everyone in this room, right? All of you, what you do as a collective is nothing short of extraordinary. My dad always says that the secret to happiness is always having something to look forward to. The work you do together gives so many people so many things to look forward to, and there are few things more impactful or noble than that. So I'm just here with all of you, just to provide a little bit of encouragement. That the next time you find yourself pursuing a relationship, and by the way, I'm using those words with intention. That's another word, that's another definition I have for hospitality. Hospitality is about being creative and intentional in pursuit of relationships. That the next time you find yourself pursuing one, to just try being a little bit more unreasonable. To give the people you work with and those that you serve that beautiful sense of belonging or a magical memory that will last a lifetime. I can promise you, based on my own experience and the many companies I've worked with over the past several years, that it will make your businesses more profitable. But I can also just promise you this: it's going to make you and everyone you work with feel really, really good. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you. That was incredible. Thank you. That was awesome. Oh, wow. We do have the opportunity to create these wow moments. And that was just such an incredible message. I hope you walk away with some nuggets, whether it helps you in your personal or professional life. But I do want to thank you for joining us today to celebrate 2023. And before you walk out, I want to direct your attention to the screen as we want to wish you from Visit Orlando a very happy holiday season. Thank you for coming. Magic happens when you believe. Together, we make the holidays in Orlando come alive.
Hey, Cassandra, can you come to your dream office today?
Sure, I don't have anything big planned, just traveling to the real world to meet the mayor, attend a member luncheon, inspire global travel to our destination, and give a speech. You should stop by.
So cool. In Orlando, you can be anything you want to be.
Best day ever.
Together, we have a very bright and busy future.
This is the best day ever. So was yesterday, and so is tomorrow, and every day from now until forever. Happy holidays from all of us at Visit Orlando.
And no one will rest until we get that doll back in the box.